All right, man. Welcome to the 290 Mo podcast. I appreciate you for coming on the show for a second time. I know who you are, but for the people who don't know who you are, could you please introduce yourself for my viewers and listeners?
My name is Rony Francois, the financial wellness coach, also financial literacy advocate. And I just want to give kudos to you, man, on all the things that you're doing. Thank you for having me on your amazing platform. You're definitely doing some amazing things in your community, neighborhood. So I definitely appreciate you for having me back on here a second time.
No problem. And like I said a little bit before we started recording, you provide what you provide is knowledge, and that's something I like to spread. You know what I'm saying? Because it's easy to in the lane that I'm in to drift off into a whole bunch of BS and nonsense. So I like to drop gems at the same time for my people, so that they learning something at the end of the day, taking something that they can, you know what I'm saying, help improve their life. So with that being said, we're just gonna get into some quick background information for the people who didn't probably catch you on the first podcast. But why are you considered the credit hero? And if you could just summarize your story for us real quick.
So I'm considered the credit hero because I'm out here changing people's lives. I'm saving lives. You know, this credit is something that affects everybody. Because at one time I had bad credit. It was so bad I used to hope somebody would steal my identity. But we all know when you have bad credit, nobody's gonna steal your identity unless they just practice. And so I went through like a lot of trials, a lot of errors, many years of bad credit. And I was almost at the point where I just said, you know what, I'm just give up on it. I don't need good credit. I'm just sit back 7 to 10 years because eventually it has to fall off eventually.
Right.
The process of waiting that 3, 7, 10 years, I still need to get a apartment. I still need to get a car. So it's like I'm still trying to get better jobs. It's like every avenue I turn to require me to have good credit. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just stay away from the things that need good credit. I'm just get co-sign. I'm just not gonna go live the lifestyle that I want. I'm just live below my mean because I got bad credit. But then I realized that me having bad credit, it wasn't only affecting me, but it was also affecting the next generation. It was affecting my kids. So I'm like, you know what? If I'm not going to do it for myself, I'm doing it for my kids. And I studied the credit game for years and years. And when I got to the point I got good, I started working on my own credit. And I'm like, you know what? There's probably other people out there that need that knowledge that I have. So now I just started helping people randomly for free that was reaching out to me. And then I was like, you know what? Let me take it a step further because the school system don't teach us about credit. So maybe I should write a book that get that knowledge out there. Because there are some people, believe it or not, that actually still read books. I know it doesn't seem like it, but some people actually like reading books. So that's when I came up with Break the Cycle. You don't have to live with bad credit, which is very, very good. It was definitely changing a lot of people's lives. Then I wrote a second book with the kids called The 10 Credit Commandments. That was really dope. So out of all my accomplishments that I have, writing the book with my kids had to be like one of the biggest accomplishments. Not too many fathers can say they wrote a book with their kids. That's changing lives, breaking generational curse. And that book is actually creating an income stream for the kids because all the proceeds from that book goes to the kids. So like they have a stream of income. They don't even know about jobs, about working. Again, it's all about planning for the next generation.
Okay. So outside of the bad credit, who was the credit hero before he was a credit hero? What was you? Were you in a different professional field? What were you? Was you doing anything credit related? And did you make a total transition from that previous lifestyle to being a full-time financial advisor?
So before credit, I was in the life insurance industry. I did that for about 5 to 7 years because I've always felt like I had to position myself to help other people. And, so the life insurance, it gave me the avenue to help more people. But then I quickly realized that I could help even more people with credit. And then once I had bad credit, and then I learned the tools, I learned the technique, I just wanted to share with the world.
Okay. All right. So I appreciate that. So with that being said, we can get right into what we here for, man. We're going to go ahead and drop some knowledge for the people, man. All right. So I'm going to start with this. If you could just explain in the most layman's terms possible, what is credit?
Credit is basically it's how you show that you're responsible. So when you're in school, you got a report card. It pretty much show what you did for like the last couple of years, last 12 years. So as adults, we have this thing called a credit report. Credit report basically just shows what have you been doing. It just shows that you're responsible with your money, show that you spend it wisely. It just shows what you have been doing financially the last 12 years. So when you need money, whether it's to buy a house, invest in business, you're gonna go to a bank or financial institution, you're gonna say, look, I need to borrow $10,000, I need to borrow $1 million. They need you to look at your credit report to see if you're responsible before they make that decision or let you hold the money. Just like if one of your homeboys or best friends say, look, let me hold $1 million, which I know you're gonna be a millionaire soon, believe it or not.
Appreciate that. Speaking into existence, man. Appreciate that.
He was like, let me hold $1 million. And if you know this dude don't have a job or he really ain't got no money like that, you might kind of hesitate, like, look, I ain't gonna give you $1 million. I'm gonna let you hold 10 stack, get you going.
All right.
But then you might have another friend where he has a stable job, he has that type of income. He gonna say, let me hold $1 million. You're gonna give it to him without hesitation because he has that credibility. And that's what credit is. It just shows your credibility. It just shows that you're trustworthy. It shows that you know how to handle money. Because if you can manage your money, you can manage someone else's money. And that's what credit is really about.
Okay. Appreciate that. So, and this just hit me as I love taking notes during the podcast. Is there a difference between black and white credit?
No, it's not, but there's a difference how we learn about. Because again, like for example, let's take being an authorized user. Most white people or non-black, when their kids turn like 15 or 16, if they have a credit card, they're gonna put them on as an authorized user. And by the time that child graduates from high school, maybe start in college, they're gonna have a 700 or 750 credit score, and they ain't have to do nothing. Where versus the black community, like, we really don't share the knowledge with our kids. We don't share it with our friends. We know what it is, but we're not going to share it. So a lot of time we have to kind of learn stuff from mistakes and errors, trials and errors, versus other communities. Like they install in you as soon as you start talking about money. So that's the difference. And that's why I made my book available to anybody that needed it. Like, for example, the book, Break This How You Don't Live with Bad Credit. It's on Amazon, but I've given hundreds of free ebook copies to anybody that reached out said I need it, because again, I just want to get that knowledge out there, because knowledge is important, but applied knowledge is even more important. So I want to put it out there so they can use it. So it's not really so much a white credit, black credit. It's all about how that information is received, how it's distributed amongst family, amongst the community. So that's the biggest difference.
Okay. And just throughout your career and throughout all your research for your books and all that, have you ever been able to pinpoint the exact disconnect between the two communities? Like, why it's so, taboo in the African American community for a young man or female to know, not even to know, or to just be set up, like you had said, to be set up? Were you able to pinpoint any direct, correlation where there was a disconnect, or is it just we got the shorter hand of the stick?
It's just that we don't like to share information. We'll get a good knowledge, we'll get something new instead of just freely giving to somebody. And there's nothing wrong with making money off the knowledge that you have, but sometimes it's okay to give somebody something for free without expecting nothing in return. We just don't share the knowledge. And the people that have it, if you want it, you have to pay them for it. Again, I'm not knocking nobody because, businesses, making money off of the knowledge that you have, but we just don't share information where other communities, it's like they're raised up with the information infused in them. So by the time they become an adult, they already have it installed in them already. And with us, most of the stuff, by the time we learn it, it's like we already made like 30 million mistakes already. So that's the difference. They learn it before they make the mistakes. We learn it after we make the mistakes. Okay.
That makes sense. Okay, let me ask you this also before I start to my next questions. Do you, because I just assume a lot of this stuff started in the computer era. Do you know exactly when this form of credit system was applied? You know what I'm saying? As far as like the TransUnion and all that. And before then, was there a specific credit system, or was it just, just like, you owe me a IOU system?
So I don't have the exact date, but I think it started like in the early '80s.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the FICO score system was introduced. And then the three major credit bureaus, they're privately owned. TransUnion, Equifax, and the other one, all three of them, they're privately owned. So
Mm-hmm.
companies actually have to pay them to report the information on. So they're just like big businesses, pretty much. So that's how they're able to profit off of the consumer, because they get paid to report your credit.
Okay. Okay. Appreciate that. Okay. Now, this is probably a question that you can answer real easy for me, being as though you said you tried to was like, forget credit. I'm gonna do the 17 years, you know what I'm saying, without credit. So my question is, do you need credit? Can you live without it?
Yes, it is possible to
Managing
live.
and maintaining it. I'm sorry.
So it is possible to live without credit if you have money and you pay for everything in cash. So it is possible. But again, let's just say you have a big house, right? And you want to get a basketball court put in your backyard. Let's just say it costs $25,000. You have $25,000 in your savings, so you can take that $25,000, get it done. Or if you have good credit, you go to the bank. They will let you hold that $25,000 with low interest, no interest. You pay it back, over the time. So now you still got that new basketball court, and you still got your 25K in the bank. So it's like you can use your money, or you can use someone else's money with low interest, no interest. And again, this goes back to having that good credit.
Okay. Thank you for answering that for me, man. All right. The next question I got for you is, what credit score are you born with, and at what age can you start using credit? Because in the African American community, you hear a lot about people having the cable bill or this bill or the heat bill in their name. Is that actually using your credit, like affecting your score, or is it just having it on your credit, if that makes sense? Or can you clarify that for me?
Well, so we all know the credit score starts at 300 and it goes up to 850. So typically, if you don't have no credit or little to no credit, it probably hovers around between 400 and 450. So it's probably not going to be below 400. So that might be what you're born with. But then as you build positive credit, it goes up. So the sweet spot for credit score is 750. I mean, of course, if you get 800, 850, life is gravy. But once you hit 750, 770, you're going to be able to get a lot of good, little to no interest rate on anything that you get. So again, it could be anything. It could start off around 400, 450. And then, once you build it, get it up to 650, 700, 750, and you're right there at the sweet spot.
Okay. And just speaking of those 700s and 750s, what is the max credit score you can have? And is there a limit? You know what I'm saying? Because if you keep paying your bills, is it a max score, or how does that work once you get to that upper echelon of credit and you continue maintaining good credit habits?
850 is the highest you can get.
Okay. And how long would it take someone with the average credit score who's hovering probably around that 300 to 450 mark? How is it a year's? How long on average would it take somebody, an average person, to get from that average zone to 850 credit score? Is that something that's actually obtainable? Is that something that somebody listening right now with the average credit score should start working on?
Yes, it is obtainable. And the big factor would be, do you have any negative items on your credit report? So if you have negative items on your credit report, meaning like charge-off, collections, late fees, defaults, student loan, bankruptcies, it's going to take longer, because you can add all the positive credit you want. If you don't have those negative items off, your score is never really going to get where it needs to get. So you have to get those negative items off your credit report. Then your score is going to gradually go up. So if you don't have nothing on it, you can add positive credit, pay your bills on time, keep your credit utilization 30%. It's going to gradually go up. But if you have 10, 20, 30 negative items on your credit report, you can add it, but you're going to hardly see the increase, or it might not even go up at all. So if you have negative items, it's going to take longer. If you don't have negative items, you build that positive credit. It's going to be a lot easier to build up. So it really depends on the person's credit situation, because everybody's credit situation is different. So it's almost impossible to give you an exact timeline. But I will say it is a lot easier if you don't have little to no negative items on your credit report.
Okay, cool. And just kind of staying in that lane, and you kind of touched it a little bit when you just speaking. Um, what exactly is bankruptcy? What exactly does it do to your credit score? And with you being the professional that you are, would you refer somebody to bankruptcy or to save and repay the money on their own?
So I'm not a bankruptcy attorney, but I will say it really depends on the amount of debt that you have, and that's what it would kind of like determine if you should file bankruptcy or not. So when you file bankruptcy, it depends on if it's Chapter 7 or Chapter 13. Basically, you go in front of the judge, you get a lawyer, and all the debt get wiped away, so you don't have to pay none of those people no debt. Like I said, it depends on if it's 7 or 13. But the only thing is, you don't have to pay none of those people. But the only thing is now that bankruptcy could stay on your credit for about 7 years. So when you go to maybe a big bank or financial institution, you're gonna say, hey, look, I need to borrow $10,000. They're gonna be like, well, you filed bankruptcy. You didn't pay none of these other people. Why should I trust you that you're not gonna file bankruptcy after I give you this money? So that's the bad thing about bankruptcy. Yes, you don't have to pay nobody nothing back. Depends on if it's 7 or 13, but you're gonna have a hard time for anybody trusting you in the very beginning. But they're gonna be afraid they're gonna get bamboozled. They'll be like, you bamboozled the last bank, you're gonna bamboozle me too. It's like a risk factor, but it is possible to get bankruptcy off your credit report once it's been discharged.
Okay. What is the difference between a credit union and a bank, and how exactly does a credit union operate?
So the credit unions are usually a lot more smaller than the big banks, and they're more community focused. They're more about helping you. They might have special programs that's tailored to the community. They might have special programs that's tailored towards people that got less than perfect credit. They're supposed to be more friendlier. Again, they might have special credit cards that might be available to versus the big banks. They're really about profits. So the smaller banks, the credit union, they're about helping the community, helping you build. So I would just say, it's always good to have an account with a good credit union because they're just more friendlier versus helping you. Where the big banks, it's all about profits.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So I got a couple questions because this is one of a podcast. I got a lot of good questions back. A lot of people really like the content that we provided last time. So I got a couple questions that people strictly want to ask you. The first question is, should you spend credit or cash first? I find myself a lot of times having $1,000 in cash and $1,000 in credit. Which should I spend first?
So I would say, save the money or invest it. But if you're going to use the credit card, but just pay it back before the statement date. So let's just say you have $1,000 in cash, and then you want to use $1,000 on your credit card. So hopefully that $1,000 is not going to take you over your 30%. Because remember, you never want to go above that 30%. Let's just say your 30% is maybe it's like 700, whatever your credit limit is. So you use that 700, and within a couple weeks before the statement date, you pay on that credit card. So it's going to show that you got good payment history. You pay your bills on time. You kept them 30%, and that's going to help your score grow versus just spending that cash.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I hope that helps them out. I hope that answered their question. The next question I got for you is, I'm sorry. I get new credit card offers in the mail every week. Is there a limit to how many credit cards I can have?
Yeah, so it really depends on how high you're trying to get your credit score. So let's just say you want to get in the 650, 670. You could have maybe 2 to 3 credit cards. Let's say you want to get in the 750, 770. You might have between 5 to 8 credit cards and a couple more if you want to get close to 800. But the only thing, just because you're getting those offers, that don't mean you have to take them because you don't want to have too many hard inquiries from having too many credit cards. So you want to be careful with that. Sometimes you have to tell them no because when you get a hard inquiry, it stays on your credit report for 2 years. So if you have a whole bunch of hard inquiries and you go to a bank or financial institution for money, they're going to look at it as a bad thing. They're going to be like, well, you're just shopping around. So you don't want to have too many credit cards.
So just getting a credit card is a hard inquiry?
Yeah, so there's two ways of getting a credit card. One, you can apply to a regular credit card company and you're gonna get a hard inquiry. Or two, you can go to a pre-approval credit card. You're gonna get an offer, a pre-approval offer. So now when they do when you get the pre-approval offer, they do a soft pull, so you're not gonna get hit for it. But if you accept that credit card offer, then it will show up as a hard inquiry.
Okay. I appreciate that. All right, man. Before I get you up out of here, I got a couple more questions for you. For anyone who might not know anything about credit, but knows that there's something that they need to start work on, what's 3 tips that you might give somebody who's just tomorrow waking up and want to work on their credit? Just 3 basic tips that they can get started and get the ball rolling.
Well, first thing they can do, they can reach out to me, and my assistant will send them a ebook copy of this book. It's called Break the Cycle on How to Live with Bad Credit. It's about 90 pages, has a lot of meat and potato. That's the first thing I would recommend, just getting a free ebook. Number 2, pulling a credit report, because you can't fix your credit or fix any errors if you don't know what's on it. So you can get a free copy of credit report, freeannualcreditreport.com. You get 1 free copy, all 3 report every year. So that's very, very important. And the third thing you can do, once you get your credit report, look for any mistakes or any errors that shouldn't be on it, because you can dispute anything that's negative or does have a negative impact on your credit report. You can dispute it. But again, you're not going to know how to dispute it. You're not going to know what to dispute if you don't have a copy of it. And then the third thing is, if you get this book will actually tell you how to dispute some of those negative items. It will tell you how to build positive credit. So those are the first 3 things I would recommend. Get the book, pull your credit report, and then analyze it. Look for any inquiries, any errors, anything that shouldn't be on that has a negative impact on your credit report.
Okay, I appreciate that. Can we get 2 tips for maintaining healthy credit once you get to that stage where it's healthy and it's at decent? Can we get 2 tips on maintaining that?
The first thing you can do is pay your bills on time. And so, because 35% of your credit score is your payment history, you have 1 late payment, your score could drop in between like 30 to 70 points just in 1 late payment. So what you could do is put your bills on auto payment. Even if it's just a minimum payment every month, put your bills on auto payment. I mean, I got some of my friends, they got their mortgage on auto payment. They got their car payments on auto payment. That way you're never going to be late, because that's 35% of your credit score. And the second thing is keeping your credit usage low. Because if you always max out your credit cards all the time, it's going to show that you're not responsible. So the credit bureaus want you to keep it at 30%, but I recommend you keep it like 10% or even in single digits if possible. Maybe just get a pack of gum every couple months, or maybe just just get a sandwich every couple months. But you want to keep some type of activities on it, but you don't never ever want to go above 30%, and you really want to keep it like 10% or lower if possible. So the credit usage and your on-time payment, that's 65% of your credit score right there.
Okay. And the last thing, if it's anything if it's one thing that you know now that you could have told your younger self before the credit cards and messing up your credit, what would it be and why?
Pay your bills on time.
Makes sense.
Because it's one of the simplest things to do,
right,
but it's one of the easiest things to get.
Okay, and before we talk about the giveaway, I also want to ask you, does auto pay affect your credit in any way, or is it just a good habit to make sure the bills are paid on time?
It's a good habit to make sure your bill get paid on time. Because because we human, we forget stuff. I mean, life happens, but if you have an auto pay, like I said, it's just a minimum payment, you know it's going to get paid.
And what about early payments? I heard early payments may do something.
No, so one of the things that will affect your credit is when you actually pay something off, your score may drop. So let's say you pay your car payment off. Once you pay it off, within the next billing cycle, your score is going to take a hit. It's almost like you're getting punished for being a responsible adult. But again, that's why it's called a credit game. That's just how it works.
Okay. All right, so before we get up out of here, I just got an announcement to make. Rony's going to be giving out 1 free copy of his new book for the most interactive commenter, liker, whoever reaches out to him for any credit advice, let me know. He going to let me know. And whoever's the most involved will with this podcast, reach out to me. You can reach out to Ronnie, and we're gonna make sure to get you a free copy of your book. Before you get out of here, is there anything that you would like to say?
Again, I just want to say, just thank you for having me on it. There's a lot of podcasts out there, but yours is definitely one of the dopest out there. So I definitely appreciate what you're doing.
I appreciate that.
We need more people out there like you, just doing what you're doing. I love to see other people. I love to see other people when they succeed, especially if it's another king. Just helping the community. So I definitely appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So before I get you out of here, let the people know where they can find you on, because your social media is bomb. Let them know where they can find you on social media, where they can find you, the book, and the best way to reach you if they want to get some credit tips or anything more.
Yeah, so you can definitely reach me on IG, Mr. Ronnie _Credit Hero. This book is it's on Amazon. Okay. Again, we're definitely gonna be picking a winner for a free book.
Yeah.
You can call me 443-738-5529, 443-738-5529. You can just go to my website, RonyFrancois.com. I mean, better yet, you could even just Google my name, Rony Francois, the Credit Hero. So there's so many different ways you can reach out to me.
As I said, he definitely working, man, and he definitely, ever since we had our first correspondence, you've been nothing but kind, man. Appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right, thanks.